That's okay. That's okay. Well, hey, Borja, thank you for being on FabTV. Appreciate it.
Oh, the pleasure is mine, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, I love your animations, and I love how there's no dialogue. How do you write something and make an animation without dialogue like
Well, a whole lot of character personality and movement for sure. I mean, the way that it came about was that we really wanted to make an animation that was universally loved and understood from day one, because it's a pretty complex sort of journey that the characters go through, exploring all these different environments, but they're sort of like relationship between each other is pretty common. You know, it's a very nice like sibling rivalry sort of story and coming of age. And we just kind of felt like the best way to do that, especially if we wanted to be enjoyed by the whole, like on a universal scale on day one, because we weren't going to try to create all these different jokes and stuff like that then we had to create different languages for. Kind of just wanted to be all at once. That it kind of came down to like the idea was to create something without dialogue off the get-go. And also we were really in love with the idea of these characters being skeletons, which kind of didn't make sense that they would have vocal cords or anything like that. So it just felt right. And to bring it to life, I mean, we did try a whole bunch of stuff. Obviously there is some like skeleton type of animations out there, like Coco, like the Pixar film was something we looked at a lot. We loved that film. But we wanted to differentiate it a little bit. We wanted to be a little bit more rigid, less malleable on the bone features and stuff like that, and all of it just kind of feeling like more like hard skeleton. And it all kind of boiled down to body movement, just sort of traditional Disney type of animation, like if you've ever seen like Fantasia and stuff like that, where there's a lot of expression that's being done just with the personalities, and there's not really much dialogue or facial expressions happening at all. And I think that kind of helped with their skeletons, with the two characters, especially how with one of them being older and he's like more of a typical guard. He's been doing it for a while and this is his job and he believes in it. He's like more rigid and more stand-up-ish, versus the other character who's meant to be much of a little child, a little kid who's just doing this for the first time. Everything he does is very sloppy and very innocent. And I think that, yeah, that kind of played a big part in how we were able to tell that story, you know, without any dialogue at all. It's just really focusing on how they carry themselves, since they're both kind of the same height, and then what their body language is based on that character.
Gotcha.
Cut! Listen, here, step to the side. I'm a big fan. I want to tell you, it blows me away how you did all these effects with fire and smoke and all this stuff. Just to let you know, I am a big fan, and I'm partially now doing a lot of directing on my own. I just want to know one thing. How long does it take to do something like that?
Thank you, Batman. That was very surprising that you showed up. I didn't expect that. This took 2 years. 2 years of very, very hard work by a whole lot of artists, a whole lot of people, pretty much nonstop. Yeah. Which I'm sure it takes you less because you're more skilled, right?
Oh, I got a lot of bad toys, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Spider-Man here. Hi.
Oh, hey, Spider-Man. What's up?
Fernando was supposed to do this video.
I know. Jesus. All right.
Are you guys from the same world, or how do you know each other?
We're friends. We're Marvel and DC. We get along now, you know.
Oh, cool. I like that.
So,
Hyperloop.
2 years to make this? That's insane.
Oh, yeah. Well, you've probably heard a bunch of times that it takes a village to create an animation, even a short one. And it is true. You know, there's a lot of steps to the process between writing and storyboarding and then designing every corner of the film and then animating, lighting, rendering, doing the compositing, doing all the sound design. We had an awesome 89 piece orchestra do this in Germany. It's a lot of people, a lot of people put a lot of heart and love into it. But, you know, we're all very passionate about filmmaking and our dreams are very, very high. So, you know, we put everything we had into it. try to make a little.
Cut! Step to the side. Get out of here. Listen, you want to get one of these? One of these, you can do it. We can do it together. Me and you. We got to do something like this. We can get one. We can get one.
Okay. Borja, sorry, these guys are alive. You know how characters come alive.
Man, that made me nervous. I started sweating when Batman showed up.
Right?
I really didn't expect that.
Good. That's why I want to throw something different at you. Coco and this new movie by Disney called Soul as well. There's a Coco and Soul about death, and now these skeletons in Lost and Crowned. There's this new direction lately with animation with death, like and the dead.
Yeah, I've never heard that question before, and you're right. I think Soul and Coco definitely explore the idea of mortality and death and what happens after and so on. This has nothing to do with that. It's purely a fantasy world where skeletons and mages and kings and dragons and all coexist together. How they come about, I imagine there's probably multiple tiers of worlds within this one world, and the witch, who's their mother, she definitely can tap into the sort of underworld, which is why she has these little baby skeletons, and what they grow up to be is yet to be explained. But for now, you get to understand that when you're a toddler skeleton, you don't have a jaw. When you get a little older, you grow a jaw. We don't want to get into the specifics of how marrow grows in this world or whether a character dies or not. It's a world that just never talks about that. As you can see, there's a lot of chaotic events, near-death experiences, but they're all playful and they're all lighthearted. They do appear to be dangerous, but the idea of death in this world doesn't quite exist yet. And maybe one day we will explore something, but it's more just about two kid characters, who happen to be skeletons, because that's just sort of the setting that the world is in.
Lost and Crowned is awesome. Let's talk about clients that call you. They see your reel of all this great work, like Lost and Crowned, and when they approach you on a project, what's your style and answer back to them when they want to do a Red Bull commercial or a big advertiser?
Yeah, like this Lost and Crowned is sort of been a dream of mine for a long time. I've been in animation for like 20 years now, all kinds of animation, 2D, stop motion, 3D, and even live action and all that kind of stuff. And I've always wanted to do a very, very long animation. Ideally, I wanted to always do a feature film, but obviously a short film is like the greatest way to explore a little bit your style and sort of your voice. And I'm a huge fan of Steven Spielberg and fantasy films from my childhood. So obviously there's a lot of notes in that here. When it comes to commercial work, which I do a lot of advertisement as well, my first approach is always the adventure that I'm going to try to bring to the commercial, even if it's something as simple as like a McDonald's film, which I just recently did, that had Travis Scott in it. Like the brief comes in a certain way. There's a script, there's a need. And what I try to apply is a bit of the adventure. Like if I could possibly take that commercial into something beyond the 30 seconds, something into 10 minutes or even longer, there's enough meat in there that we could do that. So that's kind of like the adventure and the character I try to bring to commercials. So yeah, my first approach, I always look at what films I want to borrow from, what sort of inspirations from artists I might have, and then how I can have like as much personality into that world as possible so that it could potentially be bigger if we wanted it.
What are your top 2 animations that you've watched over and over again and you're awed as a kid?
Animated films, not live action? Okay.
Either one.
I mean, I'll tell you my this is going to sound a little strange, but my top films when I watched when I was a little kid was The Explorers was one of them, which Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. It's kind of like in the same vein of Goonies and stuff like that. And then I watched Conan the Barbarian a lot. I actually think that the adventure in that film in this sort of fantasy world is amazing, which also trickled into Neverending Story and Willow. But those were always some of my top films, like kind of growing up. And then a bunch of Spielberg, pretty much every Spielberg thing I've watched a bunch of times.
Here's my next question, because you kind of said it in what you're saying. River Phoenix and other famous actors are now in every animation. So how come like every every big time film now has to have your Chris Pratt and all these big names in the film. Why can't it just be regular actors? Why do we have to have these famous ones every time now? Like every time.
I'm with you. I actually prefer actors that haven't been found yet. I think that in a lot of those older movies, like the movie I just mentioned with Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix, they were children. I think it might be like one of their first like up there movies, you know. And same with Goonies. You didn't recognize those characters before Goonies came out, but their personalities and their character and their sort of chemistry together is amazing. And for me personally, when I go into, once I get to the live action world, that's kind of what I want to look for, is those sort of next voices based on their personality and what they bring to the film. Because I do agree, I think it's more interesting to see not just a new type of adventure, a new type of world, but also new characters that you can maybe associate with that are not the ones that you're seeing all the time. Not to say I do like a lot of famous characters, you know, and actors and stuff like that, but I'm with you. I think it would be really nice to continue to find new faces for the story.
Yeah, new faces and new voices, because I get it. You got to bring in the bigger names to get the draw in, but it's kind of, I feel like it's just done. It's again done too much.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times, like the characters that interest me the most are people that I meet, and they're not actors at all. And somehow, if I could just grab that person and put them in a film, even if it's an animated film, rather than having a character or an actor start to work with them on mimicking a sort of personality, I don't know, there's so much more like, I come from New York, and I lived in New York for 15 years, and just walking down the street is just personality heaven. I mean, you can just walk with your headphones off and just eavesdrop on everything on like 5 blocks, and you found like great characters for so many possible ideas, you know, even if they're not New York based. I've definitely overheard some amazing conversations that way that I've kind of have in my little secret book of dialogue ideas.
Right. What gave you the idea to have the little skeletal style? What gave you like the idea to go with this direction of this fantasy world?
Well, this is all kind of taking place in what we're calling the Clash universe. So there is 2 sort of big games, Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, and I was doing some advertisement for them for a long time and became very good friends with Supercell, the studio that makes those games. And I think for a long time we were doing these 30-second, 1-minute films, and Psyop was responsible for doing pretty much all of them. And we've always talked about like it's such a great world and it's such a great space to potentially tell a story that has nothing to do with the games at all, unlike anything else. And you know, ideally we would do a film adaptation of the game, but in the style that Lost and Crown did it, where it has nothing to do with the game. It's in that same world. You might recognize some of the characters, but the story is something totally different. And the sort of point of view is different. The games are usually about war or battle, and the point of view is usually from the warrior's point of views or different battle characters. But this is a totally different point of view. It's 2 little kid characters that probably have no business in battle whatsoever. And it's just sort of their day-to-day career, working the graveyard shift. I guess that might be the most death thing we might have in there. But that's sort of where it all comes from, inspired from, is the idea of that game. But it's sort of its own standalone, complete narrative. And again, I guess it's sort of how you may take Angry Birds and then turn it into a movie. This is the short film approach to that.
Here's my last question. I saw your stuff on YouTube. How do you feel? And it has Lost and Crown has 44 million views, which is awesome. How do you feel about your content, your animations being on YouTube? And are they other places?
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to the gym a lot, and I would see your work on the TV, which was odd. You know, little commercials and stuff like that. But the YouTube community, especially now with Corona, is just amazing. And seeing that many views, I think I probably will be speaking here for the rest of my team, which, you know, just imagine 100+ people next to me. I think there's a lot of pride. There's something special, and a lot of filmmakers and short filmmakers especially can experience this, where you're spending 2+ years or even more, working nonstop, pouring your heart out on this, and you're trying to compete on this level where your bar is feature films, is big films with giant studios and a lot of expertise. And you're trying to get to that. And you've kind of been holding on to this thing for so long that you actually don't know if it's good or not. You know, after a few years, the luster kind of starts to wear out, and the original, the first day excitement, you're kind of like trying to search for that again. You're trying to find it, but you kind of get lost in the weeds of technicalities and details and all that stuff, that when it finally comes out and you as a group can see it being released and people start to watch it and react to it. I mean, that's the danger of YouTube. You should not read your comments, obviously, but it's unavoidable when you've been so desperate to see how people react and you can't take it to a festival because of Corona. That I think it's been, besides the views, I think views become a little arbitrary after a while, but the idea that people enjoy it so much, and most of the feedback and comments that we're getting have to do with the work, with the animation, with the story, rather than things about, oh, it sucks, or, you know, it's not good enough, or stuff like that. It's a lot of love for it. I think that just makes us feel like, oh yeah, we spent the time on something cool. And as story makers, doing probably, I think for most of us, the biggest project we've ever done. It just gives us a lot of satisfaction that we were going in the right direction, and now a ton of motivation to do more, bigger work. So yeah, it's
keep
yeah.
that feeling. It's so beautiful to watch. I mean, every detail from the smoke, the water, the fire, the lasers coming out of the eyes. I mean, don't stop. They're awesome.
Borja, hold on. Think about it. Bad King rises from the dead as a skeleton. I'm telling you, no, let me talk to him.
Okay, great to meet you, bro.
That's not a bad idea. Let's talk further. Give him my number.
Give your number. Okay, Ashley, give the number. Take care, Borja.
All right, thank you, Fernando.
A+.
All right.
Work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Talk soon, man. Bye.